Hi, this video will be covering the Week 4 combat and balance changes on the player test server. I did do a full patch note review, and you can check that VOD out over on Twitch if you'd like to see an initial reaction video, but this will be a more condensed version, just going through some of the highlights. Let's go ahead and get started. There will be a new holiday event called the Year 1 Celebration that will combine the Orsinium, Craglorn, and Imperial City events. Pretty much will work the same as all other holiday events, where you get special coffers for doing certain activities within the celebrated zones. And then there's also going to be bonus loot dropping for activities within these zones as well. The one I'm looking forward to most is the Maelstrom drops. So if you're missing that Maelstrom Inferno staff or bow still, this will be a great event to go farm it. There were a ton of companion adjustments as well, but most were just slight tweaks or bug fixes, so I won't go through the full list here, but I'll cover the main changes that stood out. One of the biggest ones was their ability to avoid danger now with dodge rolling, so apparently they were suffering from a bad case of standing and stupid, but now should be able to react a little better and reposition themselves more effectively. They do have a 1 second period of immunity after roll dodging now as well, as they are scripted to roll if they hit under 25% health, which hopefully will help them stay up a little better. They also decreased the healing received bonus from Basalt Barrier to 15% from 20%, reduced the spell and physical resistance granted from Mending Incantation to 7,000 from 10,000, reduced the healing from Rejuvenation by 33%, decreased the light and heavy attack bonus from Searing Weapons to 15% from 20%. Twilight Mantle now causes Miri to stay in stealth for 3 seconds, down from 6 seconds. And finally, Vanish now heals your companion to full health when used. I believe that's the medium armor skill that makes them vanish whenever they're in danger. So interesting to see some nerfs here. I'm not sure where these were overperforming. I haven't really messed with companions a whole lot yet, so I have heard that they aren't really able to stay alive and vet content very well at the moment. So maybe they were just providing a little too much in the way of healing and defensive support. I'm not really sure. For the new trial, they will be having the first 2 hard modes turned off this week so that people can more easily get to the final boss and test it on hard mode. So far, the hard modes in this trial look absolutely brutal, but we'll have to wait and see how everything ends up when it goes live. For the Kind's Aegis trial, Half Giants will no longer remove player ability effects while in combat. This includes taunts applied by ranged taunting abilities. So this is pretty nice. There was a nasty bug where anything done in like the first second or so of initiating combat with these guys would be erased, or could be erased. So it's nice to see that they got around to fixing that. They also adjusted Artaeum Pickled Fishbowl, fixed an issue where this food buff was stronger than its blue food counterpart. The main focus of this food was meant to be its bonuses for fishing rather than combat effectiveness. The new max level values are now 5414 max health and 4938 max magicka. So overall, it barely gave more resources than your standard blue Bistat food, so this won't make a huge difference, but still I thought it was a little weird that they nerfed the purple food that is expensive to now be the same stats as the cheaper blue food, and also that they worded it as fixed an issue as though it was a bug or something. It's been in the game for a long time, so not really sure why it's considered an issue and not just something that they're deciding to rebalance now. Either way, doesn't really make that much of a difference in the long run, and food just got cheaper for magicka damage dealers. They also adjusted a few of the visual effects to be less noisy for the following sets: Draugr's Rest, Heaty's Hearth, Hollowfang, and Kinra's. So that's nice. Some of those sets were really bright and obnoxious, so glad to see that they tuned those back a little bit. For combat and abilities, they fixed an issue where the following damage over time abilities were being calculated as damage done bonuses rather than base ability effectiveness per stack, fixing an issue where their stack damage was much lower than intended. So I'm not sure exactly what this phrase means. I think it means like they were calculated similarly to like the stagger effect or the Draugr set, which adds a specific amount of damage done. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure there, but either way, it is fixed now for Relequen and also the Warden ability Cutting Dive, so those should be working a little bit better now in week 4 of the PTS. Now for the 2 juicy buffs that Stam DPS got. First off, Blade Cloak. Increased the damage done by this ability and its morphs by approximately 25% to better reward its requirement to stay stacked on your foe, as well as to offset the loss of effectiveness on proccing enchants and sets with the changes to Deadly Cloak. So with Blackwood in the week 1 PTS, Deadly Cloak was changed to only tick every 2 seconds instead of every second. So the damage was doubled per tick to compensate, and the overall DPS on the ability was slightly up However, this tick frequency caused some issues with the way that enchantments work. So I made a little chart here to try and show how that had an effect on these enchantments. Basically, the way that it works with having dual wield on your back bar is that your enchantments on each weapon can't fire at the same time. They alternate back and forth with each tick of Deadly Cloak. So this worked fine last patch because the tick frequency was every 1 second, which lined up perfectly with the infused enchantments having a 2-second cooldown. However, now that it only ticks every 2 seconds, this effectively cuts the uptimes of these in half, since they now have to wait a 4-second period in order to activate again. This also plays funny with a Berserker enchant, since that has a 5-second cooldown and lasts for 5 seconds. However, the Deadly Cloak ticks are only 2 seconds now, so it ticks 2 seconds, 4 seconds, and then again on 6 seconds, so it has that little bit of downtime there. So I'm not really a fan of the way that this functions now, and I don't think it's very intuitive at all to have dual wield function differently from all of the other backbar dots that can tick every 1 second and keep up enchantments 100%. However, it is nice that they did give Blade Cloak a bit of a buff to compensate for this. From the initial tests I've seen, it does look like the Deadly Cloak morph is now up over that 6k DPS mark, which, especially paired with Black Rose Prison dual wield, is a pretty nice option as a backbar dot. So overall thoughts, I am glad they addressed the initial nerf in some way, but would have been nice to just have the enchantments still function normally. Alright, and on to the last adjustment. The Stampede morph of Critical Charge increased the damage done by the initial hit of this ability by 25%, and the damage of the damage over time effect by approximately 127%. Overall, this will result in approximately 86% more damage, which was done to help offset the changes to Merciless Charge, as well as to help two-handed stick out better as a viable backbar option. So this is a massive buff, one of the biggest we've seen to an ability, I think, and like the buff to Deadly Cloak, this was done to help offset some of the other changes. So Merciless Charge got a big 33% nerf last week and is now pretty bad in PvE. I checked it out on the PTS and Stampede looks really great, almost 9k DPS, but yeah, Merciless Charge is pretty pitiful now, only contributing about 1700 DPS, so I definitely think we'll be seeing a lot more Stampede use in PvE builds, even front barring a two-hander. I think most setups will want to run Stampede as a dot if you can fit it in. Should be a really nice way to add in some extra cleave damage for stamina damage dealers. So I'll read the developer's comment about these as well. With both dual wield and two-hander, we decided to improve on these abilities to help these weapon types stay more relevant as backbar options for builds to help diversity outside of the normal bow backbar option we see. Since Stampede is a morph that enhances the ability into an AoE, the initial hit should follow our AoE standard, while the dot can be made stronger as it's a new function that was meant to help the ability stick out, similar to the power we put into Twisting Path or Winter's Revenge. Blade Cloak received an adjustment since its original standards associated it with stationary and long-ranged AoE dots, while the ability is actually mobile and melee ranged, so it should be rewarded more compared to others. So overall, I definitely like these changes. I'm all for anytime there's more diversity in build setups, and I think Stam is in a pretty good place for that. You can really do dual wield on your back bar, two-hander, bow, even a staff, and they all are within very small percentage DPS of each other. So it's really, it just comes down to what playstyle you prefer and what you like, which I love. I think that's a great place for the game to be in. Well, alright, that's going to wrap it up for the Week 4 changes. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the patch notes. A big thanks to my current Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see how you can help support the channel, I'll have a link in the description below. And a special thanks to Nicholas, Simon, Privy League Guild on PlayStation's EU server, Cougar is Bay in the Cougar Town Guild, Gandalf, and Blondie Joes. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.